Hello, E-Class. We are starting a new section. The new section is about inequalities, and the new section is very much like the old section. It's just that we are using all kinds of different symbols. So instead of solving equations, which have an equal sign and involve equality, we are now solving inequalities, and they have symbols like you see listed here. The first off, of course, is inequalities and not equal to. We don't do a whole lot with not equal to equations, inequalities, I should say. We don't do a whole lot with those. So that's not going to be the focus of this section. But the other four are pretty important. And we're going to do a lot of work with these other four symbols, the less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. All right, let me move it up so you can see them all. So if you don't remember those symbols, that's a quick review of what they stand for. And this is also something we'll learn about. A solution of an inequality is any value that makes the inequality true. Okay, well, that's a pretty simple idea. So if I have x is less than 4, then any value which makes that inequality true is a solution, which means that x could be any value, like 3 or 2 or 1. All those values are less than 4, and they make the inequality true. So does 3.5. So does 3.6. These are values that make the inequality true. We're going to discuss that more in further detail. But what I want to do is to remind you some things about inequalities. I want to remind you of some key words that are used, the English words and phrases that are used when describing inequalities. For example, if you look at this, it says is at least. So let's imagine that there's an x is at least 8. If x is at least 8, that means it's going to be greater than or equal to 8. So that's what that means. X is greater than or equal to 8. Next one, x is under 5. So my values have to be less than 5. X is less than 5. Next one, the maximum is 12. So x could be equal to 12, but it can't be greater than 12. So x is going to be less than or equal to 12 because 12 is the maximum. It's the ceiling. X is less than 5. Okay, that's pretty obvious. X is less than 5. That's an easy one. X is no more than, here, let me put something on here. X is no more than 3. X is no more than 3. That means it can't be greater than 3. So it's going to be less than 3, but it could also be equal to 3. So x is less than or equal to 3. And therefore, the values are no more than 3. X is at most 10. Well, if it's at most an x, then 10 is the maximum. So again, if it's at most 10, it has to be less than or equal to 10. X is no less than 4. No less than 4. So it's like 4 is the minimum value. It's the floor. So x has to be greater than, but it can be equal to 4. So x is greater than or equal to 4. That means x is no less than 4. X is less than or equal to, okay, we already know that one. I'm just going to put 12 on here. X is less than or equal to 12. That's an easy one. X is greater than 7. X is greater than 7. Notice this is a big reason why I cross my 7s, so that it doesn't look like a greater than symbol. If I didn't have that 7 crossed, it might be confusing as to which one is greater than and which one's 7. So I always cross my 7s. X is more than, let's put a 20 there. X is more than 20, so it has to be greater than 20. Not equal to 20, because x is more than 20. And then the minimum is 6. Well, that means that x has to be greater than or equal to 6, because that's the minimum value. And 5 or more. 5 or more. That means you have an x value that is 5, so it's equal to 5, or it's more than 5. So x is greater than or equal to 5. Those are some common phrases that are used for inequalities that I wanted to remind you about. And tomorrow we will begin talking more about inequalities.